10 years since war in Iraq started. What have we accomplished? Well, that depends on what your definition of an accomplishment is. If you believe that 1 million dead Iraqis is an accomplishment, then, hey, we accomplished something. If you actually believe the outrageous, nonsensical lies that Iraq was somehow a threat to world peace, then, yeah, you could say we've accomplished something. If you believe that trillions of dollars wasted on a senseless war is an accomplishment, then yeah, we've accomplished something. And if you believe that 10 years later, the fact that Iraq is still absolute chaos when we were supposed to have brought democracy and freedom to Iraq from the oppressive grip of Saddam Hussein, then yeah, we've accomplished something. A better question might be, what have we learned? Now, if you're a neoconservative or just an average everyday American who's too obsessed with sports and too obsessed with other bread and circus distractions, entertainment, to focus on the realities of the world, then you might believe that, hey, we've learned a lot. We've learned how to deal with oppressive Islamic regimes that fancy themselves on being the next Nazi Germany. Or you might say that we've learned that we must absolutely confront evil wherever it comes from at any opportunity, which of course is what we've been told ever since 9/11. But if you're actually paying attention, and you actually know something about what's going on in the world, what we've accomplished, or what we've learned, is that the media, governments of this world, will go to absolutely any extreme, have absolutely no qualms, no moral scruples whatsoever about lying to millions upon millions of people, actually billions of people as a matter of fact, and selling a war based on the most outright fabricated nonsense that has ever been conceived, I would dare say, in human history. That's what we've learned. If you go and look, I mean, even the anti-war liberals are guilty of this, because those in the media who claim to be anti-war, who claim to have opposed this war of aggression, they propagated the lies just as much as anybody else did. Look at your liberal media outlets. Oh man, they had no problem pushing Bush administration press clips, and they had no problem repeating the propaganda arm of the Bush administration. Oh no, that's where they got their facts from, people. And you look now at Iran. They're doing the exact same thing. Iran. Look at all the liberal anti-war media outlets are repeating the same things about Iran. Iran has nuclear weapons. Iran is a threat to the world peace. Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map. Constantly. And it's Obama, the anti-war president, who, of course, as a matter of fact, on the 8th anniversary of the Iraq War, March 19, 2011, approved the NATO bombing of Libya. So much for anti-war president. But the anti-war president Obama repeats the same lies about Iran that Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld and Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice and all the rest of them put out there about Iraq. So what's the difference, people? I mean, we're being duped and we're being suckered and we're being lied. And we're being lied into another war, and people don't realize it yet. Go and listen to an Obama speech. Go listen to Bush speaking in 2002 or in 2003. And go listen to Obama speak now. It's the exact same thing. We must stop Iraq from having nuclear weapons. The fate of the world depends on it. We must stop Iran from having nuclear weapons. We must protect our ally Israel and ensure a peaceful Middle East that can prosper and thrive. But we can't do it when Iran has nuclear weapons and is threatening to wipe Israel off the map. So, I mean, the rhetoric is absolutely no different. And look, as I said, you can look at the liberal media outlets, and they're pushing everything about Iran. No one dares question the lies about Iran if they want to keep their career intact. I mean, that's exactly what it is. But what's being left out of all this? Of course, you have the 2,000-pound elephant in the room, which is Israel. And, of course, Israel has an all-powerful lobby that totally controls U.S. government, totally controls U.S. foreign policy, a lobby that is actively pushing for intervention in Syria, as Bashar al-Assad is seen as a friend of the Iranian regime. And al-Assad does not refuses to abide by Israel's conditions for peace. So we must get rid of Assad, and then we can go into Iran. So, you see, it's all the same. I mean, none of these liberal media outlets dare question the narrative on Syria or Iran, just like they had no problem with propagating the Iraq lies. I mean, come on, Phil Donahue was fired from MSNBC for being too outspoken against the impending war. And Chris Matthews, who claims that he was anti-war from the start, was one of the biggest cheerleaders of the Iraq war. And Chris Matthews actually suggested to his bosses at MSNBC that they fire Phil Donahue because he was too outspoken against the war. Same thing happened to Jesse Ventura. He lasted about 2 weeks at MSNBC before they got rid of him because he was too outspoken against the Bush administration and against the war. And then you look at what happened to the anti-war movement. Those who were actually genuinely sincere about being anti-war, such as Cindy Sheehan. Well, the moment Cindy Sheehan started criticizing the Democrats and the lies of the Democrats that led to the war in Iraq, Cindy Sheehan was completely ignored by the mainstream media. She went in the course of a couple of months from being the darling of the liberal media when she was out staging protests outside of Bush's ranch in Crawford, Texas, to being a pariah and somebody who couldn't buy her way onto a network after she started to criticize the Democrats during the primaries when the Democrats were pushing the great saviors Obama and Hillary Clinton as being anti-war. So what we've got a media, both Republicans and Democrats, both conservative and liberal. When it matters, they spread the same lies and propaganda, and they have absolutely no problem with doing it. But you see, once the war begins, then the liberals, because we have a country of sheep, quite frankly, people who will buy anything their TV tells them, as long as it's their preferred political affiliation that's saying it, they'll buy anything they hear on TV. So when MSNBC can propagate everything that Fox News is saying about Iraq and about weapons of mass destruction and about Saddam Hussein and about how we must stop this threat from destroying the world. See, but with people so distracted and people so bought into this two-party paradigm, these same people, 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, a year or two later after the damage has been done, they can go in and say, well, we were against the war all along. Bush's war was evil. Bush and the Republicans did this. Vote a Democrat into office. Vote John Kerry or vote Barack Obama, and they'll get us out of this mess. See, that's the Kool-Aid they sell people. People believe it because they will not open their eyes and realize that the emperor has no clothes, that both parties are the same, and that both parties have the same agenda. You see, another element of this whole deal, it proves that all this Iraq hand-wringing by liberals and how angry the anti-war movement was outside of the few principled progressives within the anti-war movement that are anti-war no matter what, as well as, of course, great libertarian outlets such as antiwar.com who have been principled in their anti-war stance no matter who's in office, no matter who the president is, no matter which party controls Congress. The media was complicit in years for selling these lies. I mean, you want to look at the truth. Clinton was just as complicit in launching in the events leading up to the Iraq War as Bush was, because Clinton propagated the lies about Iraq and nuclear weapons for 8 years. It was the Clinton administration that supported the UN sanctions against Iraq. And there's another one, by the way, the United Nations. The UN did all this hand-wringing and condemned Bush's war. But the UN put sanctions against Iraq for 12 years because of Saddam's supposed nuclear weapons program. It was the UN that was responsible for the death of 500,000 children. It was the UN and it was the Clinton administration. Clinton administration just stood by and let it happen and defended it and condoned it. As a matter of fact, it was Madeleine Albright, the former Clinton's former Secretary of State, who said that the deaths of 500,000 Iraqi children was worth it. She said that on 60 Minutes. And yet, the Democrats buy into this nonsense that their candidates are going to lead them out of war. Somehow this idea that Obama's an anti-war president, Obama's been doing the same hand-wringing against Syria and Iran, has been propagating the same lies about Syria and Iran that Bush propagated about Iraq that he was so universally condemned for. So folks, where's the difference at? I mean, or is anything going to really change? I mean, do you really take a look? Take off the blinders for just a minute. Take a look and ask yourself, is what's going on now with Iran and what was going on 10, 11 years ago with Iraq, is it any different? I mean, why would you believe the stories about Iran but understand that the stories about Iraq are total bull? I mean, is it because it's a Democratic president? Is it because you're only anti-war when it's convenient to be? I mean, come on, people. Why would a government that was so willing to spread so many lies about Iraq, not just about Iraq, by the way, but about 9/11, the event that led up to all of this, to this war in Iraq and all this war on terror nonsense. I mean, there's more lies in the 9/11 Commission report and in the, quote, official story of 9/11. There's more holes in these official stories than a freaking slice of Swiss cheese, or however that saying goes. So you see, it doesn't matter, people. Just gotta understand that we're being lied to no matter what. And it's time for us to wake up and to call out the liars, the people that are deceiving us. And you know what it's going to do? It's going to really shatter a lot of people's paradigms. People that believe in peace and that believe that whichever side that they're on is actually standing for peace and justice and for truth. I mean, it's going to blow and shatter a lot of people's paradigms. But it's a must. I mean, we've got to wake up. We've got to take the blinders off. We've got to realize that pretty much everyone within the government, within the mainstream media, and in a lot of cases within the alternative media, are guilty of spreading the same lies and deceptions. And that is when we'll begin to become victorious. The fact is, though, I enjoy college basketball. You know, I'm going to watch the NCAA tournament. The fact is, we've got to stop putting sports and entertainment and all this other stuff on a pedestal. We've got to start paying attention to the things that matter. These issues are of the absolute utmost importance. They are of grave necessity that we understand these issues so that we can achieve a peaceful and prosperous world for those who come after us. And, of course, we got to wake up and realize that only one country benefits from all this war in Iraq and Iran and Syria. And it's not Iraq, it's not Iran, it's not Syria, it's not the people of these countries. You can make a case that maybe the United States and Saudi Arabia benefit as well. But there's really only one country that benefited from Iraq, that benefits from regime change in Syria, and that benefits from destruction of Iran. And that country is Israel. And that's another thing. Once we understand these two facts, the world would be a much better place. Thanks for listening.